What would Death Stranding be like if it was an MMO? Maybe if it even just had co-op. Imagine it now, guys. Hundreds of players gathering in Port Knot City, bumping into each other, cursing as their supplies crash into the ground. Port Knot City wouldn't be around long though, for the nuke carrying mission would wipe out everyone. Heading out into the wilds, you'd see players up on the top of the snowy mountain ridges. One of them may be signaling for help, and you ignore them because that's how half you fuckers probably are. Dungeons where 20 players all have to hike to, through the snow and rain, and once everyone gathers, you enter the dungeon for a World of Warcraft type raid. After the dungeon is complete, all the players are forced to carry whatever loot they can all the way back to the city. Might even be harder to do this than playing the dungeon itself. Man, that would be cool. Now before I get bashed by the people who want to tell me that Death Stranding already has multiplayer, shut your mouth. I get it, it does have a form of multiplayer. I wouldn't really call it that though, for it's more of a form of connection to other players without actually ever seeing them. The system is actually very cool, and I give a lot of props to Kojima Productions. But we're going to talk about a true multiplayer co-op system where you actually get to see your buddies, random people, and talk about if it would actually work in a game like this. Also, before I get bashed by the hardcore single-player game-loving community who hates all things multiplayer, I want to first state that I do actually think that the way that Death Stranding was released was the correct way of doing it. This is Game of the Year for me, and I wouldn't really change much about it. But it is fun to think about traveling the land with your friends at your side. Maybe one day we might even be able to. There are three main forms of multiplayer in video games, one being that the game is an MMO, meaning large amounts of players share the world and are able to gather in areas and interact with each other. Games like this usually have some form of economy that forms from the players themselves. Really cool genre, makes you feel like you are living a second life. The second form of multiplayer is the hybrid form. A game like Destiny is a prime example of it. Larger amounts of players are able to meet in social spaces, but when you actually go out into the world, you are typically limited to a group of 2 to 6 players, we will say, in this genre. Both the MMO genre and the hybrid genre typically center around grinding for loot. The third form of multiplayer is your classic multiplayer. Group up with a couple friends, everyone plays the same mission at the same time. This can be with online matchmaking or even just split screen. There's no player economy, no real sense of sharing the world with others besides the small amount of people that you group up with. I know there's a million other variations of multiplayer, but these three forms of multiplayer we see a lot. So would Death Stranding work as an MMO? The short answer is no. At least not without a complete game overhaul and expansion. It just wouldn't work. The game is very story focused, almost everything you do is to progress your specific world, and if everyone was on a different chapter, etc., it just wouldn't work as an MMO. Also, there is really no need for large social spaces in this game, there's no economy, and there's really nothing to grind for in this game for the most part. Of course, besides trophies and resources to build more roads, but basically after you beat Death Stranding, if you do decide to go back into the world and build it up, when you finish that, there's really nothing left to do. So it just wouldn't work as an MMO, and it's not anywhere close to being able to be one. Now, could Death Stranding work as the hybrid form of multiplayer that we see in games like Destiny? Still going to say no for this one. Games that have multiplayer systems like Destiny, or even the MMO system that we talked about, always tend to have a very large loot system. Death Stranding just wasn't made for grinding loot. If Death Stranding did take on a multiplayer hybrid system like this, it might be like maybe players can see each other when they enter way stations or cities, but really the only point of interacting would be to maybe trade supplies, and let's be honest, have you really ever had a really hard time crafting the supplies that you need in this game? I know I haven't. I usually didn't need any help at all. And once again, when you enter the world, all players will be on different chapters of the game. It just isn't designed for this without a complete overhaul of the game. It is still cool to think about seeing other players at the way stations, and maybe when you leave the way station, everyone goes into their own separate instance of the game. That might be pretty cool, especially if they had a good chat system for players to reminisce about their journeys, and maybe incorporate some funny ways of interacting with others. But overall, the game, just like in an MMO category, would need a complete overhaul and expansion to be able to operate effectively in this type of multiplayer system. Now on to the last form of multiplayer, the classic form that we all grew up on, and we still see from time to time. Group up on a buddy and help him on his journey. This form of multiplayer, I'm going to say, could actually work. Now, like I said before, I think the way the game was designed originally was the best system. You are supposed to feel alone in the world. It's not meant to be a large-scale multiplayer operation. But How damn cool would it be to have a buddy come with you across the mountains, a buddy distract all the mules, and you go in and steal all the supplies? It would be cool, and I think it might actually work without needing a complete game overhaul. I think it would have to be where one player hosts and the other player joins and is only able to progress in the hosting player's story. Now that might be fun at first, but the player who joins the host's game eventually will lose interest, for they are not progressing themselves in any way at all. So what you could do is maybe allow the player who joined to collect resources and equipment and maybe somehow store them in a private locker before they leave the game, and when they leave and go into their own game, they can access these resources for their own use. So basically, when you join someone else, you become a part of their story, pausing your own story, but while playing with them, you can still help out your own game by collecting resources and supplies. Of course, the game would still have to be designed a little differently for this to work, because having a friend come along with you would make some things far too easy, for you could split the cargo load for an order, and you wouldn't have to worry as much about how much equipment you need to bring to survive. And a big part of Death Stranding is figuring out these problems on your own. But I'm sure they could make it harder in some aspects to make the co-op still a challenge. Maybe only the original player is allowed to carry the cargo for the order, and maybe they up the amount of mules and BTs in the game. I don't know. But to be honest, this game is not that far away from being able to be a classic co-op game, or on the other hand, it would have to be completely redesigned to come anywhere near being able to be a successful MMO. I don't know, man. It sounds fun. If this were to actually happen, it would need a lot of thought, because no one wants the amazing experience that we have all been going through to be ruined by a stupid multiplayer system. But I do think it could possibly work, and it's definitely fun to imagine it. Now, I am going to do a video on what other companies could take from Kojima Productions and learn from Death Stranding, and what the future of gaming could be like if some of these companies decided to use Death Stranding as a reference. Man, we could get some cool games. So hopefully this does happen, and we can all thank Hideo Kojima for helping improve the entire future of the gaming industry. But I would talk for another 10 minutes if we talked about that, so that will be on a future video. You guys let me know below what your thoughts are on how Death Stranding could possibly work with a multiplayer system. Maybe you just don't want it at all. That's it for today, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I always appreciate it. Make sure to check out my Death Stranding comedy videos. They are on this channel. I'll put a link to my Death Stranding real-life gameplay directly below. I'll see you guys on the next one.